The colony of Victoria is formed in 1851 and refuses to join the Federation. The colony was founded by a group of English settlers led by John Batman, who negotiated with local Aboriginal tribes for land in Port Phillip Bay. The colony is named after Queen Victoria. In 1851, it is still not clear whether or not Australia will be ruled as one large federation or many colonies. Victoria was one of several colonies that were created at this time. Victoria disagreed with the other colonies about joining the Federation and refused to sign up for anything. This caused a lot of tension between them and the other colonies, which eventually led to war between them. 1849, the gold rush begins in Australia as gold is discovered by Edward Hargreaves at Bathurst, and the town of Melbourne is founded. By 1851, the population in Victoria reaches 100,000 people, with 29% living in Melbourne alone. 1850, Australia becomes a federation with the New South Wales and Victoria colonies. 1851, Melbourne experiences its first cholera epidemic in October, which kills about 3% of the population. 1853, the colonies of NSW and Victoria are united as the Colony of Victoria, from which Australia gains its present name. 1854, the gold rush starts on the Victorian goldfields in December and creates a huge influx of immigrants. 1856, Melbourne hosts the first international exhibition, held over 6 months from April to October. 1860, the Great Melbourne Fire breaks out in November, burning down most of the town's central business district. Early settlement and establishment. The history of Melbourne, which began with its foundation in 1835, is also the history of Australian settlement. The first inhabitants were Australian-born convicts sent to establish a penal colony on Port Phillip Bay in 1803. Western Australia forms a colony and joins Federation. Western Australia was the last of the Australian colonies to join the Federation. It was not until January 1, 1901 that Western Australia joined the Commonwealth of Australia, becoming a state on January 1, 1901. The colony of Western Australia was founded in 1829 and became a separate colony on July 1, 1832. The Western Australian Legislative Council had been making plans for federation prior to this date, and had debated joining the Commonwealth of Australia since 1891. Western Australia's location on the continent is in the middle of the continent, with Western Australia bordered by South Australia to the south and southeast, Victoria to the east, New South Wales on its northeast coast, and Queensland to its northwest. The name Fairbairn was originally used by Clan Kerr of Scottish origins in Northern Ireland. The surname originates from a hamlet, Fairbairnie. Variant spellings are Fairbairn and Farbairn. The original Scottish name is derived from the Gaelic Fionbain, which means fair brow or white brow. The ancient Gaelic Celtic word for white is fair, hence the meaning of the surname Fairbairns as meaning a family with fair or white brows. Fairbairn Barracks, in southeast London, is a site of the British Army's Royal Engineers. Fairbairn was born in Russia. Fairbairn was the son of a wealthy Scottish banker who had emigrated to Russia, and he grew up on his father's estate near St. Petersburg. He attended the University of Cambridge, where he studied law, and became a member of the Cambridge Apostles' Society. He then moved to London, where he joined the staff of the Westminster Review, a journal founded by fellow Cambridge alumnus John Stuart Mill. Fairbairn wrote for the Westminster Review during 1859 and 1860. When he became acquainted with Charles Darwin and his ideas about evolutionary theory. Fairbairn was the son of a wealthy Scottish banker who had emigrated to Russia and married a Russian aristocrat. Fairbairn's first novel, Castle Richmond, 1862, was published anonymously. The novel is set in Scotland during the 17th century, and tells the story of a young man who rises from humble beginnings to become a nobleman. It was reprinted in 1876 by Thomas Richards, with an introduction by George Eliot.